Hey guys, welcome back. As you can see, I'm in the same shirt as the last one. I'm filming this directly after the Conjuring video because I don't know. In the last video, just even teasing Annabelle was enough to get me get me fired up and want to talk about it because this is a pretty wacky movie just in that there's a lot of potential set up from the first Conjuring film that I don't know if it pays off. I don't think it pays off. Let's just say that. Doesn't They take things a interesting direction that things just kind of feel all over the place. I think that there is a much more interesting story to tell from, like, with the story behind this doll than what we actually get. So yeah, let's just get right into this. So the film starts off, and we get the same scene that was in The Conjuring of. Actually, I don't even know if they show Ed and Lorraine, but it shows it's them meeting with the college nursing students that receive the Annabelle doll and get haunted. That's like how the Warrens get the Annabelle doll. And so it's interesting in that you're like, oh, cool. Is it going to be this story? Like, what happened with these nurses? No, no, that would be far too interesting. Instead, we get this very, very, very convoluted story that how do we even broach this? So that we essentially get our lead character Mia, who, one thing I will say, I enjoy elements of this movie because of the fact that it has a lot of parallels with Rosemary's Baby. The most prevalent, other than the apartment building, the most prevalent of which is the fact that the leads are named Mia and John, which is for John Cassavetes and Mia Farrow from Rosemary's Baby. So that's really cool, but the big issue is that, I've seen people dog Rosemary's Baby because of the fact they don't think Mia Farrow's character is very strong, which I completely disagree with. I think that she's a very strong character that is looking out for her baby more than anything, more than herself, more than her husband. So I think that's an extremely strong character. The issue with this film is that this character Mia is just not a strong character. She's not. She's very, she doesn't do anything useful. She is she's the epitome of like that person in a horror film that's like constantly tripping over her like own feet and just like like putting herself in shitty situations. She's just the worst. Just the absolute worst. The ending is the prime example of that, but just throughout, she just is so vapid. And she's also, by the way, the whole reason that this nonsense happens is because she has this stupid fucking doll collection that doesn't make. It's essentially just like, hey, so yeah, I have this doll collection, which that only is essentially relevant in order to set up them getting this Annabelle doll. It's the only thing that makes her doll obsession even relevant to any kind of plot, because as soon as like that's established, they don't really go back to it. It's not like she's like, oh, my dolls, my dolls. She doesn't really seem to give a shit after, which, I mean, to be fair, she did get like attacked by some crazy cult. So, but I guess we should get into just the whole setup, which is that, so Mia and John are at home and they hear a scream from the neighbors and have to investigate. So this is so stupid. They kind of establish before this happens that this is such a like friendly and nice neighborhood that everyone just leaves their doors unlocked. So that maybe it's just the 2019 in me, but I can't even imagine that concept of just like leaving shit unlocked. Like, no. Care more about your fucking family. Like, care more about their safety, because that is not safe. It's not a good practice to be having. Like, that's just stupid. Which, in evidence by this, because they have this crazy Manson family type cult that goes into their house and causes this whole fucking ordeal. Which, to be fair, the scene where the neighbors are murdered, other than the elevator scene later on, it's probably the best scene in the movie, especially with how it's shot, because it's shot from Mia and John's bedroom, where you get to see Mia sleeping, and from across the way you see the neighbors. They clearly hear a noise, and the husband goes to investigate as the wife gets on the phone to call the cops, and she's just like staring in with concern, and then suddenly there's just a blood spray, and she's like, oh no. And as you see this like Charles Manson type figure pounce on her, you hear her scream, and then the light goes out, and then Mia pops up, because that wakes her up, and she like looks over, and the other house is just pitch black. That scene was fucking awesome. Just fucking awesome. If the whole movie was shot as well as that, then we would have been in for a treat. But unfortunately, it's not shot that well at all. And speaking of which, so we don't really get this insight until the second Annabelle film, but the neighbor couple that gets murdered, they just hear a noise, and so the husband gets up to investigate, and he's immediately like, call the cops. What? You guys heard a noise, and obviously, to be fair, they were completely right. They need to be calling the cops. However, like, could you imagine if you're just like, that was just standard procedure of like, if you're just in your house and you hear a noise, you just call the cops. Just like, oh, there's a noise. I forgot too that we had a dog, but there's a noise, so we got to call the cops. We got to. There's no other explanation. The cops need to be involved. So that the whole part is really silly, and I think it's real funny that like Mia sends John over to the neighbors, and she's just very like willy-nilly about it. Like, she doesn't seem to care. Like, she's more or less just like curious, but then like when he comes out, when John comes out of the house like covered in blood, he's like, oh, don't worry, it's not my blood, just call the cops. Why? Like, I don't get why he immediately leaves his pregnant wife to go take care of these clearly other dead people, where it's like, no. He should have seen that, been like, okay, something happened literally directly next door. I'm not going to send my pregnant wife into our house, which I've already established I don't lock doors. So, like, he should be following her in there. 100% following her in there. But yeah, that's just dumb that they didn't do that. And also, why this cult chick, it's almost like she specifically is going over to that house in order to possess this doll and do this ritual. Where it's just like, wait a minute, so you murdered this neighbor couple so then you could draw these other people over in order to then take this doll to possess it? Like, I don't get what the whole point of it was. Like, this is the whole grand plan, which maybe Maybe they're trying to imply that the whole reason John got the doll was because he bought it from these people, like that he got it from one of them, like that they were the seller and that's how they knew that it was in that house. But again, so convoluted. They didn't need to do that. It just makes everything else a lot stupider. And yeah, it's just so convoluted. It's almost like since they had that backstory established in the first Conjuring film, but they didn't want to like tell that story, so they're like, we're gonna do something just before that. So then they have to like connect the dots, and just, yeah, it doesn't work. It just really doesn't work. And I'm fairly certain that the only reason that they include that scene at the very beginning of like the scene from The Conjuring, and I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure it's just because of the fact that the doll doesn't get introduced for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes into the movie. It felt, can't speak, hitting puberty. But it felt like this movie, or that this, it really, really feels like it took like a half hour for that doll to show up. Which, when you have so little going on, like, we need that doll. We need that doll to be fucking creepy and do its fucking doll bullshit. But there's really not a whole lot of that. It just doesn't work either. It's silly. It's just silly. I feel like they add elements that just don't need to be added. Like, why on earth, why did the Annabelle doll essentially get that house burned down to get them moved to the apartment? Like, why did that have to happen? Why, like, was that part of the plan, or is that just a coincidence? I don't understand what the point of that was. But again, with this, there's what's the point? It gets said quite a lot. Because it's, again, just what's the point? What's the point? Because they don't really do a good job in damn near any aspect of this film. The acting is really bad. Is the Rosemary's Baby aspect really the only reason that I enjoy parts of this? So I'll be honest, this is the first viewing where I really, really disliked a lot of stuff in this. Usually I was like, I don't really get why people dog the Annabelle film that much. Like, it's just not the mind-blowing spectacle that the Conjuring series is, but that's not a big deal. This time around, its flaws really, really stood out to me in a bad way. And the main issue and main flaw for me is that Mia's just a really, really bad character. She's really bad. She's very passive. She doesn't do a whole lot the entire film. She just reacts to the world around her. Versus you have the husband, who is like the ideal mate in terms of he only cares about her well-being. She has issues. I need to just help her. I need to be the best husband possible. And so we have that, and then we have Mia, who's just like a mess for no real, like, she's just never takes charge of any situation. She's just constantly having to deal with, or just constantly just like barely escaping these things outside of her own like stupidity. Like, okay, the elevator scene, which is essentially the scene that everyone considers like the scene from this film, which I completely agree. Which, by the way, it was directed by James Wan, this scene was, so it's probably why it works so well. However, so Mia's in this elevator. She like after she gets like all haunted and the demon practically comes and gets her. She runs in the elevator, hits the thing, and it's like, oh, relief. It opens up and she's still downstairs. She's like, oh shit, fucking hit the button, closes, opens again, still downstairs. I feel like she does this way too many times before she finally understands, like, this elevator is not moving. It's not happening. Because even at one point, it's like, it like starts make a noise like it's moving and sounds terrible. Sounds like the elevator's gonna break. And then it fucking opens and she's still there. Where it's just like, get the fuck out of there. That elevator is clearly not safe regardless. Even if there weren't a demon or whatever, like any of the possession aspect. If that elevator's acting like that, guess what? That elevator's malfunctioning and you should not be on it. Like, that elevator has issues. Oh. But yeah, shouldn't she just kind of... She just doesn't do anything intelligent. Ever. Ever. There's also, like, no real stakes in this film. We don't get... Like, deaths just aren't happening. So, let's see. The people that die. The neighbors. The poor neighbors. Which, they're a lovely couple that we get to meet at church right before they die. Perfectly fine couple. Then we get the two cult members who one of them gets shot, the other one, or do both of them get shot? I don't know. They both die though, and then we get the big character death at the end. That's it. Which wouldn't be a huge issue, except we have like 4 characters established this entire film. You get Mia, you get John, you get the priest, and then you get the detective. And then you get Alfre Woodard's character. So essentially 5 characters in this movie. You know how many die? 1! We get 1 death. They tease... That priest gets fucked up by this demon. Fucked up, like flying all over the place, getting fucking banged up against the church, like that sounds more than it is. But yeah, he like it's to the point where you're like, oh yeah, that dude just died in a pretty shitty way. He got fucked up. And then you see him in a hospital bed and he's fine. It's like, okay, so I guess he's not dead. I mean, okay, what are the stakes in this again? And then finally we get this big moment where they're discovering, like, oh, this Stahl has latched on to you and wants to like take your soul. That's the whole thing. It needs a soul. Now that it's latched on, it just needs a soul. And so Mia's like, okay, well, I'm gonna kill myself then. This is the only solution. Absolute only solution possible. Because, you know, suicide is just her only option because she can't do anything else her fucking self, so just take the easy way out. I think is essentially her character's solution to this. But she gets saved by her husband because her husband is like, what the fuck are you doing? You're trying to make me a fucking widower for no reason. You're just being a fucking crazy person. We have other solutions for this. There has to be other solutions. I've seen enough movies. And they get her down, and so then Alfre Woodard's character, who's just... She should have been established and been throughout this film as a friend. Like, she should have just been Mia's friend that just has a through line throughout the film. Because otherwise, she shows up and then the biggest moment, the most heroic act is her killing. She kills herself, jumps out of the window with the doll, somehow breaking this curse. I don't fully understand how. Because guess what? We establish at the end that we get the priest who's all better. Then we get Mia and John together with their baby. And they essentially are just like, well, Hope whoever comes in contact with the doll next is ready for it. What? You had possession of this doll? You did not like get rid of it? You just were like, well, it's not our problem anymore. Put it in a pawn shop. Because guess what? It ends up in a fucking pawn shop for the mother of the nursing students from the Conjuring for her to buy and set off this whole series of events. Why? Just why? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Like, you guys didn't accomplish anything. Alfre Woodard sacrificed her life, and you guys are just like, well, thank God we got out of it. We didn't solve this Annabelle situation at all, but I mean, at least we're in the free and clear. That's all that matters. That is the only thing that matters. We're good, so don't worry. Don't worry. That aspect is just also shows how bad the Mia character is, because she's totally okay with it. She's okay with it. She doesn't care. She's got her family. That's all that matters. She's got her priest. Oh, yeah. Is there anything else we really need to talk about? Well, we should talk about the Annabelle doll itself and the design. They did a good job with that. It looks super, super fucking creepy. But I also feel like they didn't fully utilize how they should have. I felt that there's a lot better elements there's just things that they could have done that I would have enjoyed like more of, which we get. Like, the only reason I know that I would have enjoyed and why I am craving these other elements is that we got them in The Conjuring, and then we also get them in the second Annabelle movie, where we don't really get those creepy, haunting moments in this film. The most we get are honestly, the James Wan directed scenes. So, again, it's unfortunate that this couldn't have been better. Yeah, I honestly believe that both the very convoluted plot and the fact that The Conjuring set up the potential so well for this film that just obviously just didn't live up. And I think that those are really big contributing factors as to why it just didn't work. I wanted to, with this review, I was really hoping that I would be like the one positive for Annabelle, like, which, to be fair, I do enjoy this film still. I say all these negative things, but I still got quite the kick out of it. I still like the universe that's set up in The Conjuring. So, and the Annabelle doll is very creepy. And it also really helps that Mia is absolutely gorgeous, which, by the way, it's so weird because I finally have it in my head that this character's name is Mia, just because of finding out the Rosemary's Baby connection. But for the longest time, anytime I thought of this movie or tried to talk about it, I would refer to her as Annabelle, because her real name is Annabelle Wallis. Like, what are the chances that you cast an actress that has the same name as your title? Like, it's just strange how that worked out. And I just would have loved to have been on those like casting meetings, because I can just imagine them being like, could we do this? Is it like, could we do this? And people aren't going to just think we cast her for her name. Which, I mean, she's gone on to do plenty of different things, and she's a fine actress. It's just the character of Mia is extremely weak, and I don't think anyone would have done much with this role. But yeah, that's really all for Annabelle. I'm glad that the series really rebounded after this, because this wasn't bad enough that it could have killed like the Conjuring series. But I remember it was quite a shock when Annabelle Creation was announced, because everyone was just like, wait, what? The first one sucked. Why even do that? But they fixed a lot of the mistakes from this film, and we'll get into that when we get. Well, shit, I just had my camera go off because the battery died, because apparently doing multiple of these videos back to back can just drain that shit. So I have no idea what I was even talking about. I don't think it was anything too important. So yeah, that's all for the Annabelle review. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next week for The Conjuring 2. See you then. Hey guys, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And look, I even have a new ending finally. Holy crap, it took forever. And I'm just saying random stuff that I don't need to be saying. Oh well. And end.